If there was one thing, one piece of advice that I could tell you that would catapult or become a catalyst for your recovery, it would be this. Stop taking yourself so seriously. In the modern era of recovery culture, we look at breaking a porn addiction and this like recovery process, right? We treat it like a military campaign or some corporate performance review. We create this whole like scoreboard in the sky and looking and making sure that we are counting our days and making sure that we are perfect in this schedule. And if we're not, then we failed that day. We look at clean days like currency. Like, oh, hey, I'm 21 days clean. That means that I have more worth, that I have more value compared to the person who is going through the same thing but is 2 days clean. This whole extreme psychological strain turns into performance anxiety at the end of the day. When you have an urge coming on, one of the immediate things you think of is, oh my gosh, I can't break my streak. I can't break my 21-day streak. And it gives a sense of anxiety, which snowballs into your body thinking, oh man, we're more anxious right now. So let's increase these urges. Let's go watch porn because we know that this works, this helps. So let's go. Every day is an exam that you might fail. Dude, like I had a problem with school as it was, you know. I had a problem with an exam once a term, but an exam every day? No, sir. No, thank you. But that's what we have started to create. And I think that's what a lot of people fall into when it comes to recovery is, all right, the moment my feet hit the floor, this is another test, another day, another exam. So I don't know if you guys have listened to Alan Watts at all. He's a modern day philosopher, and a lot of his things are really out there, and I may not agree with everything that he says, but there are a lot of things that really resonate with me. And what I want to talk about today is this idea that he has called the great pretending. This is, in his words, a cosmic game where we act as if there is something ultimate to win or to lose. And this freezes a spontaneous life into these rigid lines of right and wrong. So in recovery, you can fall into this rigidity trap. And I think we've talked about this a little bit in the past, but that looks something like, if I watch porn, then I'm garbage. If I don't, then I'm a saint. And we try to bottle and grade our human nature. Okay, we try to put it in these lines, in these little garden boxes. And anything outside of that is bad. And Alan Watts also talks about this idea that we have invented failure, which, dude, oh my gosh, like I love it. I love it. We've invented failure. He notes that we divide life into what matters and what doesn't. And we've invented this sense of failure, guilt, and shame, which, as we know in addiction, shame is this gasoline that we throw into this whole relapse cycle. And so we have this great paradox. We have this whole thing that we got to deal with now in recovery and just in life in general because of all these rules that we've set for ourselves. You create this paradox. So the harder you grip, right, the harder you white knuckle, the harder you go for that clean streak, you're trying to hold, it's like trying to hold sunlight in your hand, right? You're just, like, I can do it. But the harder you do that, the more anxious you become, which in turn is making the soothing, numbing effect of porn even more alluring, even more attractive. So as we go through recovery then, what's the answer? Like, what do we do? Alan Watts would say, and I'd be really curious to know what he would actually say, but based on this idea, and I'm gonna link the video in the description actually to his video. It's super cool. It's just an audio recording essentially. It's not really a video, but listen to it if you can. A great 17 minutes. But I think he would say something along the lines of, handle your responsibilities with grace, with the grace of a dancer, not the stiffness of a soldier. To care deeply and yet lightly, that is the art. So In contrast, okay, in recovery, you have the soldier type person. And this person views a slip up as a breach of defense lines. It demands self flagellation or restriction and a return to boot camp. And it leads a rigid, really fragile sense of sobriety. Whereas you have the dancer mindset. And this person understands that if you stumble while learning a dance, you don't shoot the orchestra or you don't burn the dance floor. You just catch the rhythm of the music, and you keep moving. So I really do believe one of the biggest keys in recovery is moving away from this idea of I have to fix myself because I'm broken, or I have to go 90 days in a row of no PMO, or else I'm not sober, or else I'm not becoming the person that I want to be. We want to move towards this idea of I'm learning the art of living. And right now, I just hit a bad note. I stumbled. But slow down, listen to the rhythm of the music, and jump right back in. Now, Alan Watts also argues that our modern culture is addicted to purpose, meaning, and control. And I totally agree. I mean, even on this podcast, we've talked about having purpose and having meaning, right? We do put a lot of weight on those things. But when you bring seriousness into play, you'll have seriousness whisper things like, oh man, if I don't hold it together, it's all going to fall apart. If I mess up today and I'm at 70 days clean, it's all going to fall apart. I'm going back to square one. So many people turn recovery into this rigid micromanagement scheme. You have things like the blocking apps, tracking every second, obsessing over things like spiritual purpose or meaning or even values, okay, obsessing over those things. So when you don't obsess over the thing, over recovery, when you don't obsess over this idea of becoming the person that you want, when you take seriousness out of the picture, you can really start to feel the relief of letting go. Alan Watts talks about this idea that the waves crash, the grass grows without our supervision. They just kind of do it. That's just their nature. There's no rigid rules that the grass or the waves have set for themselves. That, oh man, if I don't make a really big crest here as I crash down on the water, I'm a bad wave. Or, man, if I grow with a little bit of a diagonal, I'm not a perfect grass blade. No, right? They don't think those things. It just does. That's their nature. And so real recovery isn't about trying to control your environment. It's about trusting your capacity to ride the waves. Now, this doesn't mean that you can't set up things like the app blockers, obviously, right? This doesn't mean that you can't set up structure in your life, and in fact you should. But what's the difference? Okay, and what I'm saying now versus what I've said in the past. In past episodes about values, about finding purpose, about meaning, all of those are still true. This doesn't mean that all the past episodes are now obsolete. This means that applying those principles in a way that's not too serious. And I believe, I forget, I'd have to go look. I do already have an episode kind of on something like this, right? Like not taking yourself too serious. Now, this doesn't mean that you just, this isn't like apathy, right? This isn't just giving up and watching porn all day because you don't care anymore. You're not taking things serious, okay? The detachment is this whole idea of caring deeply and yet lightly, all at the same time. It's freedom from clinging to a perfect, flawless version of yourself. So I want you to think, this version of yourself that's 5, 10 years down the road, are they perfect? Are they flawless? If they are, I want to invite you to rethink that version of yourself. Obviously, not having porn in your life 5 years down the road is great, a great vision, and I think it's possible. But really think about the details. What would happen if You 5 years down the road, you haven't watched porn in, man, who knows how long anymore because you haven't counted the days, right? Years probably. But you see an attractive lady and you find your thoughts wandering. And you're like, oh crap. Like, did I just like, what's wrong with me? I haven't watched porn in forever. But yet, I just started thinking about it. You know, I saw someone really attractive and it led me down this rabbit hole of some videos I used to watch or some pictures I saw in the past. Does that mean that you're starting now to revert back to this person who you were? No, it's not. And so rethinking this version of yourself, this ideal version of yourself, and get rid of perfectionism, get rid of this idea of being flawless. Now again, is this a reason to justify watching porn? No. That's not the whole purpose. And if that's what you're thinking, you got the wrong idea. Restart this episode, listen again. So how can we actually implement all of this without collapsing into this like, well, nothing matters, so I'll just binge porn, right? Like, what can we do? There are 4 things that we can do. First is to smash that scoreboard in the sky. I've talked about this plenty of times before. You have to ditch the day counters, dude. Just get rid of them. Now, obviously, in like the idea of them is good. The problem with them is that people generally obsess over the days, and then it doesn't make recovery helpful. And so having a general idea of how long you've been without porn is great. It's a good indicator of like how you're doing, right? Are you becoming the person that you want? The amount of days since you've watched porn is a good indicator. But counting the days every day, I get rid of it. You got to stop letting a single number define your worth. So if you watch porn in the past 90 days, you didn't lose 90 days of progress, right? You hit one bad note in this beautiful 90-bar melody. The second step is to depolarize your language. I've talked about this plenty of times. Shift from this idea of morality to curiosity, right? So when you slip, replace the I'm a failure who ruined my life with this, like, look at that. Interesting. I felt lonely and my brain reached for its old script. Fascinating. Treat it with the light of someone who's curious, who's an observer, not a judge. And 3, I know I said 4, there's 3, rediscover true play. So we need to, obviously, when you take porn out of your life, right, you got to fill the void. So what does that look like? Porn addiction often, like, it thrives because our lives have become all of this, like, strict soldier mentality, right, of being rigid. It's all duty and no dance. So find something to do that has absolutely 0 performance metrics. None. Go paint terribly. Go draw. If I tried to draw right now, it'd be hideous. But I'm not going to set rules for myself. So is it even hideous if I don't have any rules? There you go. Go play a video game without caring about like your rank. Go play League of Legends the normal mode, right? Don't play ranked. Go play a video game for fun. Go on a walk without tracking your steps. Go to the gym without tracking your reps. Just go do something and don't put yourself in this rigid box or this rigid way of living. So I'll close with some final thoughts by Alan Watts. He says, "The universe is not a courtroom, it's a playground. You're not a defendant on trial for your addiction. You're a dancer learning a complex piece of music." So laugh, stumble, make mistakes, and begin again. For real, each breath you take is already enough. You are enough. Your worth is 100%. Stop taking your recovery so damn seriously and watch how much easier it's going to start to become to finally change. You guys are awesome. Hope this is helpful. I'll talk to you next week.